but we do have her with us now. Here she is. I'm very excited to have you. So if you could start off by telling us a little bit about your story and what you've had going on, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Catherine, and for the work that you're doing for Career Launch Live, really helping connect the dots for people. I'm Nicole Scheffler. Thank you for your patience. I'm a tech diva, and I'm committed to sparking success for women in tech by leading and serving in corporate America by day, and then at night, doing the Tech Diva Success Collection, which includes 2 podcasts, one of which is coming soon. And I have 2 books, 2 best-selling books, one with Jack Canfield and one on surviving COVID, the pandemic.
Right. That was quite an event. It really has been.
Yes, it has been.
And I was sharing this stat at the beginning of the show. I'm really excited because women are now taking up 47% of the jobs in tech. So we're no longer, we're kind of the minority, but it's basically equal now, which I think is so exciting. What do you think most contributes to that big upswing in women diving into tech?
Well, there's a lot of work being done in it, right? So the work that I've been doing has been going on for quite some time, but there is a lot of great momentum in the space. Unfortunately, the numbers haven't been getting any better with the pandemic because where there's maybe 39% of women holding jobs, about 54% was women losing their jobs during the pandemic. So that's a problem. But I think we're starting younger, and there's more programs in place that are helping women, one, become aware that there's careers in technology that they can get into. So we're starting the conversation earlier. There's been a lot of momentum around STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math for educating and really working with girls. We find a sweet spot is like 6th to 8th grade, where they become more self-conscious, maybe socially distracted by other people, and just feel more self-conscious to ask the questions they need to excel in these core skills that lead into a technology career. And then 100%. I think everything's sexy and cool now, right? Like space travel's cool. Yeah. And like we have removed some of the stigmas. We still have a long way to go as society to support working women and working mothers because there's still things that I face every day. My husband is a stay-at-home dad, and I'm the one that works. And there's still stigmas in that, right? Questions that people ask the stay-at-home dad.
My dad was my stay-at-home parent for the most part. My mom did for a little bit when I was a little bitty baby, but then it was my dad, and it was almost unheard of in the 80s. That was very unusual, and I loved it. It gave me a wonderful, wonderful experience with him. It was a very different experience, and I got the opportunity to see a woman that was the head of household and that could run on. And it was amazing. It was so cool. And it was so cool to have a dad that was secure in his own career because he teaches music and he's at a college level and a phenomenal performer as well. He's also a director of music at his church, but he was able to cater his career to be the caregiver. And so I got to see that and what that looked like, and to see somebody so confident in having those gender roles reversed. I'm sure your husband kind of gets to hear the joy.
He's a musician too, so
that's funny.
Not quite as accomplished, but definitely supportive. And it does take that, right, in order to do certain things. Behind every successful person is someone supporting them, whether it's their family, friends, significant other, and just takes that, right, to raise someone up so that they can get the gas that they need to keep going. We have 2 little girls as well, so we're really blessed and I'm really grateful, but it's different, right? So we just still have to continue to show that there's many ways to look at success.
Many ways. And I think you're 100% right. I mean, it was when you invited me to be on your show that I finally realized I was in tech.
Tech diva.
I was surprised. I was like, oh right, I'm building out a technology, I'm building out a software. Oh right. And it never occurred to me. I always had this esteem for women in tech, and I still don't quite consider myself in that field because I think of the women that code and invent and all that kind of thing. And yes, I came up with an idea, but I have a phenomenal developer that's actually building it for me. But it's it's interesting. And my husband, I literally came home one day and just said, I want to get into tech now. And he goes, okay. Just kind of ran with it. So it is so important to have that kind of support from your partner if you're going to have, if you have a partner, your kids, if you have kids, that kind of thing. It's so very important. And your family, and I hear people all the time, oh, my family didn't like my career choice. Oh, my family thought it was weird. My family thought this and that. And I'm going, good grief. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine not having that level of support, because it's crazy to change fields, right? It's just nuts. You just hard left. I went from recruiting all the time to just diving into technology, knees deep. And it was shocking and jarring.
But it's needed, right? And that's why these great groups are here to support you. So now that you're a tech diva, get connected to the other tech divas out there, right? Obviously, Tech Diva Success is a great community to connect to other women, but there's so many organizations, the National Council of Women in Technology, and then a lot of local organizations that you can get plugged into so that you can hang out with like-minded tech divas. Yes.
And I want to say too, so I think one of the most interesting things that's come about from women being more and more in the tech field, and is that there's these new innovations that are happening on the more emotionally intelligent aspect. And not that men can't be emotionally intelligent, I'm not saying that, but women do by nature tend to be more emotionally intelligent. So you're seeing a lot more emotionally intelligent technologies, and technologies designed to help actually with human interaction. Even more so, I think, now that women are involved. Case in point, a lot of women are involved in a lot of the innovations at Facebook that have created, like, the face where you can have conversations and things like that over Facebook. There have been a lot more innovations in the AI space for diversity and equity and inclusion because of women that are getting out there, and a lot more innovation with interviewing software and platforms because of women. And I'm not just talking about mine. There are plenty that create video interviews, that create a more pleasant candidate experience. And that's women doing that. It's incredible. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're so optimistic. There is definitely some challenges there too. There's some opportunities because we've brought the empathy, the emotional intelligence, some of our second nature habits in. Unfortunately, we still don't have really in the true technical women, we still don't quite have the numbers to influence things. So one article I read just yesterday was around AI and how if we don't do more work, if we don't overcome the impact of the pandemic greatly downturning the number of women in tech because they needed to go take care of their kids and they needed to be home, then the AI will be created by men. And that's what's happened. That's what you're saying, is that more women have come in and we've been able to fix some of the problems that we found with data being driven by male only design. Well, the problem is in the AI world, we still have a gender equality issue in technology. So that's why I love how you're like, we're designing it all. We still have this issue. And they're saying that if we don't fix it, the AI will be trained that it's bias. So the nature of how the AI is developed will be biased and it will learn that. And so it's an even more important reason to keep raising the numbers and awareness, just like you're doing on this show. So thank you for that. And so although there are some definite benefits that you're seeing, I think we still have some challenges to do in the space.
And to your point, that's actually one of the things I found out. It's not something that I knew, but it's something that I found out when I started building the applicant tracking system that I did. So for those who don't know, I'm building on an applicant tracking system that fires the resume and helps candidates. And it also blocks the ability to discriminate by masking a lot of information. So anything that reveal your gender, your race, anything like that. So all of that is blocked out, and it helps them just focus on who you are as a potential employee and a potential team member. And one of the things that I started learning building that is that it's been all men that designed the hiring technology up until now. And I'm going, oh, well, that explains it.
Yes.
And I love guys. So guys, don't feel like I'm hating on you. I mean, you guys have given us a lot of great stuff and continue to do so. My developer working on this project with me is a man, and he's phenomenal. But it does explain when there's not that, and actually it's been mostly white men not all, but
Yes.
mostly white men. And so there have been just certain things that they didn't know to include, that they didn't, it's not that they were being
Yes.
hateful by leaving it out. They just didn't know, like, oh yeah, we should add this.
Yes. So they didn't think about it. And that's why the diversity is directly correlated to innovation, because they show there's two different types of diversity inherent. Those are things that you have, your race, your gender. And then there's acquired diversity. And that's an aspect they call 2D diversity. And they show that when you have 2D diversity, you're more likely to associate and have customer likeness, right? Like you're designing job systems in your case for women and men. And so when you do that, I think it's 158% more likely to have customer satisfaction because you have people who are designing it that look like the people that are using it. Imagine that.
And that's the whole thing. I've done so much research on diversity and diversity hiring and the importance of it. And one of the main things that people miss is that true diversity, when I say true diversity, I mean the acquired as well as the inherent, right?
Yes.
Because that's a huge part of diversity. I want people from different areas of the country, different
life experiences.
Yeah, life experience.
Socioeconomic.
What have you been through? Let's, you want that because then they will help you relate even more to your customer, whether it's in sales, technology, anything, but especially in technology, you need that because there's so many little things. I learned things. I thought, oh, I'm going into this and I know 90% of what I need to put into this. And then I started reaching out to other communities and went, oh my God, I would have never thought of that.
Yes. I mean, I like to call it full spectrum diversity. And what happens is when you hang out with people, you're hanging out or working or surrounded by people that are different than you, you get an opportunity to see how they perceive things, the questions they ask, the comments they make, their contributions. And then you could take that and start to say, okay, this is the lens to which they see it, right? I compare it to that of a child. Having a young child becoming aware. I mean, we went into the gas station this week with my 4-year-old and we were going down the chip aisle and looking at the chips. And then all of a sudden we cut over to the Slurpee aisle and she was like, oh my God, how did we get here? What is this? How did we get, wow. And, so now I have a different lens that I'm starting to see simple things because we were traveling. So I was like starting to see, okay, now the hotel room has a whole different lens to her. Yeah. Right. So it's the same analogy, right? When you work with different people and they challenge systems, they're in meetings, they're bringing things up, you could start to apply that lens. And that diversity lens is absolutely key to allyship because then you could truly be an ally for someone because you're saying, if I was this would have felt weird. If I was in this situation, this would have been weird. And that's what allows us to be strong allies, to stand up, speak out, and advocate for others. And that may be men who are involved with women in tech events to learn perspective, to hear conversations so that when they are in the room, they can also influence things to be more fair and equal.
And the same thing, there's actually a lot of people do not realize this. There has been a big stigma against the Black community being in tech as well. It's been this kind of bizarre phenomenon for years, and especially Black women. And I was really encouraged. Actually, it was after I did your show, I started getting more connections from more Black and African-American females who are in tech. And I thought that was so great. It's like, oh, look, there's more and more. Yay. Because when I very first started recruiting in IT, it was hard to find. And it was because of the stigma behind it. There was just this idea that it should mostly be this group of people and this group of people. And if you're not, I actually would have clients tell me if they're not Middle Eastern or Oriental, I don't want them in my IT department. I'm going, well, that's odd.
Yeah, weird.
Why does race matter?
I mean, it's just the unfortunate connection of our society and the problems that we're dealing with around social justice that we see every day as we have wins and losses, sometimes at the same time. Those bias that are causing problems in our society are coming into the workplace. So that's what's happening, right? So if there's bias for race or gender or whatever it may be in our world, just like we talked about earlier, if people ask certain questions of stay-at-home dads, I mean, those same things are going to come up in the workplace. So I think that's why it's incredibly important. And I will always be an ally for equality, to speak up, to vote local, That's where we can make the biggest impact. I'm
Yeah.
I'm actually on the board, and I'm not on the board. I wish I was on the board if I could get on the board, but I'm a team leader for Headcount, and Headcount registers voters at concerts. I love live music.
That's awesome.
Pretty bummed because of pandemic, but it's a great organization that not related to any political party, just tries to get younger people involved in politics by getting them to vote.
So important.
So that's, I like to give things people can do besides being silent, because that's not going to get us anywhere. So
no,
I'm
it
happy
doesn't.
to speak up on that.
And even professionally, I tell people all the time, speak up. And if you have an idea, including ladies in tech, since this is kind of geared towards you guys, if you have an idea, speak up. Don't let people talk over you. Just speak louder and go, no, I have something to say. Here it is. Put it out there. Don't be afraid. I was told for years, you're too loud, you're too sassy, you're too bossy. You insist on your own way. I said, when my way is right. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Not every time. I like working in teams. I like collaborating. But if I knew something to be right, and I mean like ethically, moral, that type of thing, I would do it and I would insist on it and not compromise. And so you're going to hear these things about, oh, you shouldn't say that, you shouldn't do that. Forget that. If you have a better way, speak up. And if they don't listen, strike out and do it on your own.
Yeah, that's there's that Taylor Swift song, I think, that's like, if I was a man, or the man. And it's really funny because it's like, if I did this, I would be cool, but I'm a woman doing it, so it's not as cool.
There've been a lot of songs like that. And I always am like, yep.
Yeah. And another part of the solution, I'm always solution driven, trying to stay positive. And another great solution to help fight this is using design thinking. And it doesn't need to be anything complicated, but it's just thinking about, as a leader or as a team, how can you advocate for there being like a group thought session where everyone brings their ideas, and it allows that open space for everyone to connect. In addition, what that does is creates a psychologically safe workplace. And that is ultimately what will help all diversity, women in tech, all genders. And it's just really being able to feel like you could come as you are, you can ask questions, and that you're not constantly worrying, if I say this, are they going to like it? If I don't say this, where you feel like you're having to overthink being your authentic self. At least that's what I try to create on my team, and I think they like it. But even something as simple as, instead of just having your meetings where you're just constantly, here's what we need to do, you say, okay, let's just bring up an open whiteboard. What's working for this team? What's not? What can we do better? Or start, stop, continue. What do we need to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing? And then all of a sudden you source things. And when people get their voice heard, even if we don't take their ideas, even if they're just being heard, it makes a difference, because when you put an idea out there, someone else thinks of another idea that piggybacks on it.
Yes.
And it's really powerful.
And it's wonderful. And I've seen the most wonderful innovations and progress come from those types of sessions. I like to do that with teams as well, and just have okay, let's talk about this. And and for me, I'm like a super type A, organized. So I would ask people, okay, what are the topics that we want to cover? People would reply. I'd make a list, and then we'd go through and we'd hit them, make sure we got through all of those first. And then I'd say, okay, did anybody think of anything else?
Yes.
Let's do this. But you're right. It was them being heard. And even if their exact idea didn't get used, usually some form of it kind of came into being, and it made everybody have a sense of belonging and a sense of accomplishment and ownership. Yes. And it kept everybody happy and together. And I want to touch real quick too, before we have to let you go, talking about the stay-at-home moms.
Yes.
Because you get so many different perspectives on this. So one thing I do like to remind women, from the recruiting standpoint, from somebody who's consulted for a lot of small businesses, this doesn't necessarily pertain to big companies as much. It doesn't seem. Understand, because a lot of women say, as soon as I get pregnant, they think I'm never coming back, and they act like I'm never coming back. I do want to play devil's advocate on this, ladies. The reason they think that is that a lot of times women don't. I just putting it out there. A lot of times women don't come back. So companies are a little gun shy of that. They're a little afraid of that. So, and you never know until you see that baby, right? I've known plenty of ladies that say, I'm going right back to work. And then they see that baby and go, nope. I need to be here. And that's a beautiful choice. And I 100% support that choice. So one thing that I tell a lot of women is to, communicate with your employer. Let them know what's going on. Stay in communication. keep that kind of active. But then also I tell the employers, make sure that you're supporting those mothers, because that's part of a good culture, right? Is reaching out and going, hey, how are you doing? How is everything with the baby? Do you need anything? And not that you need to personally like go take the diapers or anything, but just,
although we'll take them.
Although they will take them. Everybody needs more diapers, right? But just that kind of support. So what are some things from your perspective as a mother that you would like to see more companies doing to support moms?
Yeah, it's really important too. Again, back to the study of the recent data I got on COVID. COVID is weirdly causing women to have problems with first-line managers that are male. So I'm wondering if it has to do with the fact that the challenges of kids being at home and being the mom is extra tough. I know it's really hard for me because I can't hide in the basement, but some best practices are what you said, communicating early and often. Not over communicating, but communicating enough to show that like you care, they're human, they're not completely left behind.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard when your job gets given away and you see a job announcement of someone with your job title or parts of it while you're gone. That can happen to the best of us. I may or may not know about that, but I think it's really that communication so that they feel like when they come back, there is an option. Like,
yes,
that's really the choice. Like you should have a home to come back to. And when people return to work, make it a moment that matters. Okay. They've been out. They, the 3-month period, which is about average, if you're lucky at a great company, to come back is a very sensitive time for women's mental health postpartum. It's when there's a lot of cases of postpartum depression. So you don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know how much sleep they got, but it doesn't matter when they're supposed to come back. Put something on their calendar, 9 a.m. that day to sync with them or sometime that day so they know what it's like to come back, return to office, and use that time to reassess their goals, the standards, their new changes that may need to be made with their schedule. And above all, be empathetic, as leaders, just understanding that people are going through everything. I mean, but also know that it is okay. If you choose to step away, it is okay. Keep your skills up though.
Do that, but also give notice. Don't wait till the last day that you're supposed to be gone and to
communication
tell them.
Is 2 ways. Yes.
Yeah,
if you think you're going to push, if you're thinking about it, let them know. Like I haven't decided yet, but I'm trying to see when I'm going to come back. Sometimes they need an extra month. Sometimes they're not at all. So I think the communication is 2-way. The employer owes the employee some communication on clarity. How is it going to return? Yes. Are you going to have a job when you get back? What does that look like?
Options. Maybe they can return part-time for a while.
Yes.
Also, one thing I saw at a client of mine do that I just loved is he would invite the moms that were out on maternity leave to virtual meetings so that they could still hear what was going on and participate and all that kind of stuff and still feel like part of the team, know what was going on. And that resulted in more women coming back because they still felt that and they knew that they were being worked with. It was, do you need part-time? Do you need to work remote for a bit? Fine, no problem. We'll work with you.
I still think you should be on the payroll for that one because but it's nice. Nice. It works for some companies, but I'm like, I'm not trying to,
Oh, they did pay. Okay.
Yeah.
Did anything. They did pay. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not trying to be on maternity leave and do it. And during my maternity leave, what I do and what I encourage women to do is look at what you can do with that time. You have 40 to 60 hours or more that you're working in the corporate world. You take that away. You're with the baby. Can you read a book, do a skill, do something else? I personally invested in digital marketing education for Tech Diva success while I was on maternity leave, which allowed me to incredibly build that brand with time that I never would have had in the corporate world. So use your time wisely. It's your time. And that may be just self-care and self-love and making sure you're telling yourself that you're doing okay. Being a mom is hard. So for all the moms out there, as we come up on Mother's Day in May, just know that you've got this, you're doing awesome. And tell yourself that you need it
every day. Yes. And I want to thank you so much for coming on, guys. I've dropped Nicole's LinkedIn link in the comments. It showed up on most of the feeds. If you don't see it, you can also find her on LinkedIn yourself. Can you spell out your name for everybody?
Yes, it's Scheffler, Scheffler. And I'm just /Nicole. I was there early. I'm an OG. I'm a LinkedIn OG.
That's right.
Thank you. I apologize for getting the time wrong and being a robot for the first part. But hopefully
fine.
we're good. And
Thank you so much.
What you're
Thank
doing.
you so much for coming on. We've had an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you, Catherine. Have a great day. Thank you.